I lost at truth or dare and had to find a guy in the room to kiss. Everyone started cheering, chanting Luke's name. It was no secret that I had a crush on Luke, and he knew it too. Don't look at me. I can't stand gay guys, let alone kissing one. Luke was the one who called the shots in our group. One word from him and I could have gotten out of this whole embarrassing mess. But he just laughed. A man's gotta be able to take a joke. If not, just find someone else who's willing, and we'll call it even. The room filled with laughter as everyone waited to see me make a fool of myself. I grabbed the collar of the person next to me without even seeing their face and pressed my lips against theirs. The jeering from the crowd seemed to freeze in time. For a second, Luke's face stiffened. He looked past me and said, "Steve, how's it feel to kiss a guy?" My heart dropped. Did I just kiss my rival? Hearing Luke's question, I quickly glanced behind me. Sure enough, I had just kissed my rival, Steve. Compared to being made fun of moments ago, kissing the person I disliked most made me want to escape even more. Aren't you homophobic? Why so curious? Steve's cool remark made Luke's face darken. While I was still processing the fact that Steve had actually talked back to Luke like that, he spoke up next to me. This is boring. You leaving? Yeah. There was no point in sticking around to be treated like a clown. I started to follow Steve out, but after just 2 steps, Luke called my name. Leo, I didn't say you could leave. Everyone knew that I never refused a request from Luke. It was a habit I'd developed over so many years that I instinctively stopped when I heard his voice. We're going to get a room. If we don't leave, should we put on a live show for you all? Steve threw his arm around my shoulder, his voice dropping coldly from above my head. A collective gasp went through the room, including one from me. Steve looked down at me. That kiss was a pretty good sample. I'd like to explore things further. Are you sure he wants to go with you? Luke's tone was confident. He beckoned to me with a finger. Leo, come here. I shook my head. For the first time, I refused Luke's request and walked away. I heard the sound of a glass shattering behind me. It was Luke throwing a fit. He probably never imagined that one day I would actually say no to him. Steve kept his arm around my shoulder as we walked out. A blast of cold winter air hit me, and my head instantly cleared. The guy next to me liked Luke, which technically made him my rival. I removed his hand from my shoulder and glanced up at him. Thanks for helping me out back there. I turned to leave. If you go back now, you'll blow my cover, Steve said, looking at me with an unreadable expression. The hotel is right next door. Let's just spend the night together. 2 guys sharing a room, what would people think? Especially since we were rivals. It was just too absurd. No one is nice to their competition, especially when Luke seemed to have a soft spot for him. Half an hour later, Steve and I checked into a hotel next to campus. A room with a king-sized bed. The moment I sat on the bed, I was filled with regret. How did I end up getting a room with Steve? My regret turned to alarm when he started pulling various props out of a takeout bag. I shot up from the bed, backing against the wall and watching him warily. What do you think you're doing? Steve loosened his collar, picking up one of the small items and walking toward me. If you're going to put on a show, you have to go all the way, right? I had to admit he was a little more handsome than me, a little taller, a little paler. But that didn't give him the right to do whatever he wanted with me. He was blocking the door so I couldn't get past him. I kept backing up until I stumbled and fell onto the bed. He adjusted his glasses, looking down at me. Are you going to take them off yourself? Or should I help you? I clutched my pants, my heart pounding like crazy. Dude, are we really doing this? Even though I'd been into Luke for 7 years, I was still a virgin. Steve paused for a moment, then raised an eyebrow. I just want to take a few pictures that make it look like we did something. But if you're really in need, I could also... No, not at all. I cut him off quickly, my face so hot I couldn't even look at him. I turned my back to him and took off my shirt. I was about to turn around and ask if I needed to take off my pants too. Suddenly, Steve was right behind me, his breath warm on my ear. I could feel his scorching heat, making me dizzy and nervous. He tilted his head, and I felt his soft lips brush against my earlobe, sending a shiver through my entire body. Back in the private room, when I grabbed him and kissed him, All I registered was that his lips were soft. I didn't think much else of it. Now all my senses were magnified. My body instinctively wanted to pull away from his touch. Just hold on for a second. We'll be done after the picture. Steve tightened his arm around my waist and held up his phone with his other hand. In the photo, my face was flushed red, and my eyes were glistening. Even though it only showed me from the neck up, anyone would get the wrong idea. After posting it to his social media, I looked at Steve, who was getting ready to wash up. So, why did you help me? Aren't you afraid Luke will see this and get mad at you? Now that things were likely over between Luke and me, he had no more competition. I don't like him, so what's there to be afraid of? He gave me a meaningful look before heading into the bathroom. He left me there with a head full of questions. Steve doesn't like Luke? How is that possible? Whenever I went to find Luke, Steve was there most of the time. Was he just being stubborn, refusing to admit it? For some reason, Steve took a very long time in the shower. When he came out, his face was flushed, and he kept glancing over at me. When it was time to sleep, I offered to take the sofa, since he paid for the room. Steve looked at me playfully. We're both guys. What are you so afraid of, sharing a bed? That's exactly why it's so terrifying. He placed a pillow in the middle of the bed. Let's sleep like this. Don't worry, I'm a very still sleeper. I hesitated for a moment but eventually got into the bed. For one, sleeping on the sofa all night would be torture. For another, if I didn't get in, it would make me look like I was scared of him. In the middle of the night, just as my guard was finally down and I was about to fall asleep, I felt the person next to me move. Then, I was pulled into an embrace. I opened my eyes. Through the light from the window, I could see Steve's eyes were still closed, seemingly fast asleep. He probably had a habit of cuddling a stuffed animal and mistook me for one. Since he had helped me, I resisted the urge to wake him up. Just as I closed my eyes again, Steve started kissing my cheek. Not only did he think I was a stuffed animal, but he also thought I was a snack. I was getting annoyed and was about to say something to him. Then his lips found mine and he kissed me. My eyes flew open. I tried to push him away but found myself completely tangled in his arms and legs. The kiss was making me dizzy. Well, if you can't fight it, enjoy it. After all, he was a pretty good kisser, aside from the fact that his leg was digging uncomfortably into mine. I don't know if I fell asleep or passed out from lack of oxygen. When I woke up the next day, Steve was already gone. That damn player kisses me and runs. As I got out of bed, I realized my legs were sore, especially my inner thighs, probably from being held in one position for too long. I couldn't help but curse Steve under my breath again, saying he was a still sleeper. If he's a still sleeper, then there's no such thing as a still sleeper in this world. I walked back to my dorm with a strange posture, only to find Luke sitting on my bed, waiting for me. Finally decided to come back after your little escapade? I sent you messages. Why didn't you reply? Do you need something? I dragged my tired legs over to a chair and sat down with difficulty. Luke stared at me, his expression darkening. Leo, what kind of attitude is that? People are so messed up. When I was his lapdog, he found me annoying. Now that I'm not, he's unhappy. I'm exhausted. If you have something to say, say it. I want to take a shower and go to sleep. You were up all night? His face was grim. Being held by Steve like that, I really didn't sleep well at all. Luke stared at me for a long time before suddenly blurting out, Steve is not a good person. You should stay away from him. Was he jealous that I got a room with Steve last night, telling me to stay away from him? I'm only telling you this because we've been good friends for so many years. Steve is not as harmless as he looks. I didn't think there was any point in discussing this. I stood up, ready to grab my things for a shower. The moment I moved, I pulled a muscle in my thigh. The pain made me hiss and sit back down. The look in Luke's eyes grew even more complicated. I'll pretend last night never happened. Don't have any more contact with him. I'm hungry. Go to my place and cook for me. You can stay over tonight. I thought Luke must have some kind of problem if he can't understand that I'm tired. If you're hungry, order takeout. I don't feel like cooking. And didn't you tell me last time not to come over to your place anymore? If someone saw, they might get the wrong idea about our relationship again. Luke frowned, seeming to hesitate. See, he still cared about that. Just be careful and don't let anyone see you, and it'll be fine. Bye. Don't let the door hit you on the way out, I said, turning and walking into the bathroom. Luke and I grew up together in the same neighborhood. We were always close. I don't know when my feelings for him changed. First, I thought I hid it well. Until one time during a game of truth or dare, someone asked him if he liked anyone. He didn't answer, choosing the dare instead. The dare was to kiss his best friend. And that single kiss made it impossible for me to hide my feelings anymore. After kissing me, though, he was completely unfazed. We're just buddies, what's a little kiss? If you need it, I could even sleep with you, do you a favor. He was joking, but I took it to heart. Later, when I confessed to him, he looked at me with disgust. Leo, I thought of you as a brother, and you actually want to sleep with me? The thing I hate most in this world is two guys getting together. Don't disgust me. Even as he said he was disgusted by me, he continued to order me around and accept my kindness. When mutual friends asked if we were together, he would immediately draw a line between us. We're just friends. I only like women. I slept until the afternoon, when I was suddenly woken by a phone call. Leo, you have to get over here. Quick. Luke and Steve are fighting. So they're fighting. What's that got to do with me? Steve probably went to find Luke right after he ran off this morning. He says he doesn't like him, but who knows if he was lying to me. I was dead tired, so I just hung up, but I couldn't fall back asleep. When Luke gets worked up, no one can stop him. And that gentle-looking Steve would be no match for him in a real fight. Since he did help me out before, I figured I should at least go check on him. When I got there, the living room was, as expected, a complete mess. Luke was sitting on the sofa, surrounded by a group of people. Steve, on the other hand, was standing alone by the window, smoking. I was taken aback. I never thought a model student like him would smoke. When he saw me, he quickly stubbed out the cigarette and tossed it on the floor behind his back. Leo, you're finally here. Someone shouted. See, Luke? I told you he'd come, right? Luke's face was bruised, but a faint smile appeared. I walked over to Steve. He looked a bit surprised and tense, suddenly standing up straight. Where are you hurt? Steve froze for a second, a different kind of emotion flickering in his eyes. He held out his hand for me to see. It's just a scrape. His fair, slender hand was indeed marked with a few scratches. But besides the fresh wounds, there were also old scars of indeterminate age. Steve, stop pretending. You beat the crap out of Luke, and you have the nerve to play the victim. I glanced back at Luke and only now noticed his bruised face. He was clearly more injured. Leo, hurry up and take a look at Luke. One of his friends urged me again. I'm not a doctor. Looking at him won't make it heal. Luke's face darkened. Then why did you come? Weren't you the ones who told me to come? Besides, I didn't come for you. I looked at Steve. He was staring at me, and his gaze made me feel a little uneasy. Luke's face fell. Leo, get over here before I lose my temper. I was hesitating whether I should go over and check on him when Steve suddenly leaned on my shoulder, his face contorted in pain. I suddenly feel like my heart is acting up. Can you take me to the hospital? I was startled. Luke doesn't hold back when he fights. Even though Steve looked fine on the outside, he might have internal injuries. I quickly supported him. Let's go, I'll take you. Seeing us about to leave, Luke got anxious. He walked right up to me and tried to pull me away. I didn't say you could go. Steve looked like he could barely stand, moaning as he leaned against my neck, clearly in a lot of pain. His warm breath on my neck couldn't help but remind me of last night, of him holding me, kissing and nibbling on me. If I didn't see how uncomfortable he was, I would have pushed him away right then and there. Steve isn't feeling well. I need to take him to the hospital. I shook off Luke's hand. I'm not feeling well either. Why don't you take me? I gestured with my hand toward the pack of cronies behind him. I think they would all be more than happy to take you. I helped Steve walk away. Suddenly, Luke's cold voice came from behind me. Leo, if you walk out that door today, don't ever think of being my friend again. He paused before saying the last two words. I stopped in my tracks. For a moment, it felt like I couldn't even feel Steve's breath. I looked at him with concern. Steve was looking right back at me. Then, supporting him, I walked out of there with determination. After we left, Steve stared at me intently, his gaze hard to read. I took out my phone to call a cab to take him to the hospital, but he stopped me. I have medicine at home. Just take me home. I hesitated. Helping Steve was already stretching the favor I owed him for the night before. Taking him home seemed a bit inappropriate given our relationship. If it's inconvenient, then never mind. If I pass out on the way, I'm sure the driver will take me to the hospital. Watching him turn and stumble away, I couldn't bear it and decided to take him home. When we arrived at his place, I realized he was renting a whole villa outside of school. It's not rented. Steve sat on the sofa, and his one sentence was enough to make me lose my appetite for 3 days. Your parents are really good to you. Although I knew Steve was a rich kid, in my world, even someone as wealthy as Luke wouldn't have their parents buy them a villa right next to campus. I bought it myself. I made some money in the stock market during college. He said it so calmly, but I was anything but calm. I'd heard he was a finance whiz, but I always thought he was just great at exams. I never imagined he was a genius in practice, too. Do you still need your medicine? I feel like I need some medicine now. Steve paused for a moment, then smiled. If you like it, you can live here from now on. I live alone anyway, and it gets pretty boring. I stared at him, and my gaze made Steve look a little uncomfortable. Never mind. No wonder Luke was closer to him, they had more in common on a material level. How could an ordinary person like me ever measure up to them? Steve's expression changed slightly. Is it because you're afraid Luke will be upset? What does it have to do with him? Seeing Steve's scrutinizing gaze, I understood. You don't think I still like him, do you? I've seen the way you used to look at him. So what? Since last night, I don't like him anymore. Don't worry, I won't compete with you. You can pursue him whenever you want. Steve shot up from the sofa, looking somewhat agitated. I don't like him. Then why did you get in a fight with him? Steve looked at me and fell silent. The atmosphere suddenly became tense. I changed the subject. Where's your medicine? I'll go get it for you. Upstairs, in the bedroom. I went upstairs and saw several rooms, unsure which one was his bedroom. Just as I was about to push open the nearest door, Steve appeared behind me out of nowhere and slammed it shut. I was trapped in his arms and turned to look at him, confused. What's wrong? Steve seemed a little out of breath. The medicine isn't in here. Looking at him like that, could there be some dark secret in this room? Suddenly, I was curious. What could this seemingly harmless gentleman possibly have to hide that would make him race up from downstairs to stop me? But right now, I wasn't in the mood to ask. I was still trapped in Steve's embrace. He wouldn't let me go, and I couldn't move. We were stuck in this incredibly intimate and strange stalemate. Steve was half a head taller than me, which immediately made me feel less imposing. I thought back to last night, when he held me like a doll, kissing and nibbling on me, only to disappear without a trace in the morning. I felt a little annoyed. Hey, can you move? I can't breathe. Leo, I have something to say to you. Steve and I spoke at the same time. Hearing his serious tone, I looked up, puzzled. Weren't you just curious why I fought with Luke? It was because of you. My mouth twitched. You two fighting is your business. What does it have to do with me? Because I told him I like you. My heart suddenly started to pound uncontrollably. I managed a weak laugh to break the awkward tension. Bro, you don't have to make up lies like that just to get Luke's attention. Steve took 2 more steps toward me, pressing me flat against the door. My whole body went rigid. I'm not lying. I'm serious. Leo, I've always liked you. Since you don't like Luke anymore, can you be with me? He hit me with a series of direct questions that I was completely unprepared for. Just as I was trying to figure out how to respond, my mom called. I have to go home. Something's come up. Steve's face fell, looking hurt. He probably thought I was making up an excuse to reject him. After taking a few steps, I turned back to look at him. We can talk about us later. Okay, I'll be waiting for you. His expression brightened again. When I got home, my parents were both in the living room, looking very serious. My mom looked at me. Did you have a fight with Luke? I heard he wasn't feeling well and asked you to take care of him, but you refused? I scoffed. I couldn't believe Luke would tattle to my parents, and with such a lame excuse. Yes, I refused. So what? Not only did I refuse this time, but I'm not going to be his nanny in the future either. If Mr. Luke wants someone to wait on him, he can find someone else. My dad slammed his hand on the table and glared at me. You fool. Do you know who Mr. Luke is? It's an honor that he asked you to take care of him. I don't see any honor in being someone's lackey. I'm not like you, who's been a suck-up to Luke's dad your whole life and now wants your own son to be a suck-up to his son. The words were barely out of my mouth before my dad slapped me across the face. The slap made my ears ring. My dad pointed at me. I don't care how you do it, but you need to make things right with Luke now. He left the living room after that. My mom came over, looking at me with concern. You know your dad's temper. Why did you have to talk to him like that? Yeah, ever since I can remember, if my grades slipped, my dad would whip me with a belt. In this family, I wasn't allowed to be anything less than excellent. So, I studied my butt off since I was a kid, always staying in the top 10 at school. Among my peers, I envied Luke the most. He was carefree and could do whatever he wanted. Even when he caused huge trouble at school, his parents never blamed him. Becoming friends with Luke was partly because my family wanted me to, and partly because his life was the one I dreamed of. Perhaps being close to it was the same as having it. My mom sighed as she applied a cold compress to my face. Don't blame your dad. He hasn't been promoted for so many years, and now he finally has a chance. He doesn't want any accidents at this crucial moment. Luke's father can help him in his career. If you and Luke have a falling out now, that opportunity could go to someone else. Seeing that I wasn't saying anything, my mom started trying to persuade me again. You and Luke have always gotten along so well, haven't you? Why did you have this little fight now? I asked Luke, and he said that if you're willing to be like you were before, he'll pretend nothing ever happened. Please just do it for Mom. Okay? I went to Luke's house. All the other people had left, leaving only a mess behind. Luke seemed to be drunk and asleep on the sofa. He didn't wake up until I started cleaning up and made some noise. He sat up and just stared at me, still looking a bit dazed. You're here. What would you like to eat, Mr. Luke? I'll go make it for you. My tone was cold. Luke frowned slightly, walked over to me, and stared into my eyes. You feel wronged because I made you come over? I wouldn't dare. Luke suddenly sneered. Wouldn't dare, but you still feel wronged. He suddenly stepped closer, wrapping his arm around my head and pressing his forehead against mine. What, are you going to tell me you slept with Steve once and now you're actually in love with him? Are you insane? I couldn't be bothered with a drunk. I turned to go to the kitchen. Luke suddenly yanked me back, cupped my face, and kissed me. His bizarre behavior left me speechless. I raised my fist and punched him. Luke stumbled back a few steps from the punch and fell onto the sofa, staring at me in disbelief. Leo, you actually hit me. You're damn right I did. Luke, I think you're drunk and not in your right mind. If Steve can kiss you, why can't I? He got even angrier, standing up and looking like he was about to force another kiss on me. Now that the spell was broken, Luke's actions seemed particularly pathetic and disgusting to me. I'm a guy. I'm the gay person you find most disgusting. You want to kiss me, Luke? What, are you in love with me now? Luke's expression changed instantly. He opened his mouth and let out a cold laugh. That's hilarious. I could never fall for a guy in my life. I was just curious what it feels like for two guys to kiss. After all, you've already slept with Steve. What's wrong with me kissing you? My mom had warned me to keep the peace with Luke. At this moment, I just felt that if I stayed around a psycho like this any longer, I might become one myself. I turned to leave, but Luke panicked and rushed over to grab me. I didn't give you permission to leave. Where are you going? Oh, are you going to find Steve again? Are you addicted to sleeping with him? Every word he said was a knife to my heart, making me feel like my years of affection for him were a result of my brain being waterlogged. Yeah, I am. At least Steve is more upfront than you. We're a great match. Really? You think Steve is some kind of saint? He once stabbed his own brother with his own hands. He's a psycho, a freak. If you get close to someone like that, sooner or later you'll end up the same way. I frowned, thinking back to the person Steve was. I just couldn't connect him with the image Luke was painting. I don't know if he's a psycho, but I know you're acting like one right now. Not caring if I offended him, I turned and walked out. Luke cursed viciously behind me. Leo, when you see what kind of person Steve really is, you'll come back to me. Come back to him? No, never. As soon as I left Luke's house, I got a call from my dad. On the phone, he just tore into me. It was obvious Luke had called him to complain. I just turned off my phone. When I was a kid, I couldn't fight back. But now I'm an adult. I have the right to choose. He wants to suck up to Luke's dad for power and status, and I have no right to judge him for that. I used to suck up to Luke because I genuinely liked him. Now, he can forget about making me be like him. Just as I was leaving Luke's place, I saw Steve's car parked at the entrance. What are you doing here? Looking for Luke? Steve's face was emotionless. I got a text from Luke saying you were here. Luke texted you? What did he say? Steve didn't answer, just opened the passenger door for me. Get in. I'll take you back to school. Based on our last few interactions, I figured Steve and I could be considered casual friends, so I didn't refuse. We passed the school, but he didn't stop. Instead, he started driving faster and faster. Steve, what are you doing? We passed the school. He didn't answer me, his eyes fixed on the road ahead. I reached for the door handle, but he locked it just in time. What the hell do you think you're doing? Steve remained silent. It wasn't until we got to his house that I finally understood what he was up to. He had brought me to his villa. Even though we were the same age, my struggles were worthless against him. Steve, what the hell do you want? Let me go. Steve carried me straight upstairs and pushed me into a room. Finally free, I swung a punch at Steve. The fist landed on his face. He just looked at me. He clearly could have dodged it, but he took the hit head on. He spit out a mouthful of blood, the crimson color staining his pale lips a strange red. If hitting me will make you behave, then hit me a few more times. Steve grabbed my hand and brought it to his face, his expression both earnest and a little crazed. Don't think I won't do it. Of course I know you would. It's not like you've ever had eyes for me anyway. His last words had a hint of resentful grievance, but my anger quickly consumed it. I said viciously, you brought me here by force, and you won't let me out. What the hell do you want? Didn't you say you don't like Luke anymore? Why did you go looking for him again? And you even kissed him? I was being good, waiting here for you to contact me. But why did you have to disappoint me? He looked at me with a mournful expression, his hand gripping the back of my neck. I could feel his suppressed emotions. Dude, who do you think you are to me? What I do is none of your business. I felt a sharp pain in the back of my neck. A fierce look flashed in Steve's eyes. Luke's words suddenly popped into my head. Steve stabbed his own brother. He's a psycho. Right now, I've pissed off this psycho. What would be waiting for me? The pressure on my neck suddenly released. Steve turned and walked out without a word. When I heard the sound of the door locking from the outside, I came to my senses and started pounding on the door. Steve, are you fucking crazy? Are you trying to imprison me here? Open the door. If you don't, I swear I'll call the cops on you when I get out. I yelled until I was exhausted, but Steve never responded. My phone had been taken at some point. It was only then that I accepted the fact I had been imprisoned by Steve. I forced myself to calm down and figure out how to handle this situation. What Steve said before he left was very meaningful. So, he showed up at Luke's because he knew I had kissed him? But that was a forced kiss from Luke, and only the two of us were there. How could he have known? I remembered Luke's warning. Could it be that Luke told Steve? Steve wasn't here now, so I couldn't verify my thoughts. But regardless of whether Luke was trying to stir up trouble, Steve had no reason to lock me in his villa. I stood up and walked to the window to see if I could find a way to sneak out. As I got closer, I noticed a row of photo albums on the desk by the window. They were all full of pictures of me. Me in class, me eating, me standing with Luke, looking dejected after he'd been mean to me. There were even some photos from times I couldn't even remember, but Steve had captured them. No wonder he was always staring at me when I was around Luke. At the time, I thought it was the hostility of someone who liked the same person I did. Next to the albums was a notebook. I opened it. The pages were filled with Steve's strong, powerful handwriting. It was all about his secret crush on me. This affection was no less than what I had felt for Luke all these years. At this moment, I suddenly didn't know how to feel about Steve. It also detailed what happened that morning he ran from the hotel. I looked at him in my arms, sleeping so sweetly. I wanted so badly to make him mine, but I can't. Leo likes Luke. If I do this, he will definitely hate me. I have to leave before I lose control. Otherwise, I don't know if I might do something to hurt him. I really wish that one day he could like me the way he likes Luke. Even if it's not that much, just a little bit would be enough. That night, I looked through all of Steve's secrets in that room. My feelings were very complicated. I've been locked in Steve's villa for 3 days now. Every day, Steve shows up right on time with food and drinks. I had considered a hunger strike, but Steve knows me too well. He made all my favorite foods. Just smelling it made my stomach growl. I could only tearfully wolf it down, telling myself I needed to eat to have the strength to fight back. In the middle of the night 3 days later, Steve appeared at my bedside. I wasn't asleep and could feel him standing there for a long time. Finally, I felt his breath getting closer. My heart skipped a beat, and I didn't dare to move. Steve cupped my face and gently kissed my lips. I could feel him trembling as he tried to hold back. Leo, why can't you just like me? I thought that if you stopped liking Luke, I would have a chance. But I've waited 3 years for you, and your eyes are still only for Luke. If Luke dies, will you finally love me? I couldn't pretend anymore. I snapped my eyes open. Don't you dare touch him. Luke is the only son in his family, and his father is an incredibly powerful man. If anything happened to him, his father would never let Steve go. And naturally, he wouldn't let my family go either. His eyes darkened. He suddenly grabbed my throat, his eyes a mix of brokenness and viciousness. So you really do only have him in your heart. I touch him, and it hurts you, doesn't it? I was being choked so hard I saw stars. Steve's mind really wasn't right, and his emotions were unstable. One sentence was enough to make him lose control. I struggled to reach up and grab his hand, forcing out the words, "No, I'm worried you'll be targeted." With that one sentence, Steve suddenly let go. The ferocity in his eyes vanished. Steve's gaze was at a loss, almost disbelieving. I finally had a chance to breathe, coughing violently. This bastard. He doesn't look like he has much fight in him, but when he gets physical, I'm no match for him. No wonder Luke couldn't even fight back when he beat him up last time. Were you telling the truth just now? He wanted to help me up, but noticing my fearful eyes, he quickly pulled his hand back. You were worried about me, not feeling sorry for Luke? He was so cautious, his dark eyes sparkling with excitement. I couldn't help but remember the little thoughts he wrote in his diary. If I had my doubts at first, seeing him so helpless and flustered now made me believe him again. Luke's dad is really powerful. If you go after his son, things won't end well for you. As soon as I finished speaking, Steve suddenly pulled me into a hug. I could feel his body trembling slightly. I don't know if it was from excitement or if he was trying to restrain something. Leo, so you do worry about me. Does that mean you like me even just a little bit? I wanted to say that only a psycho would like someone who imprisoned them. But looking at his intense gaze, I hesitated and nodded, deciding to placate him first. Actually, when I was leaving your place that day, I wanted to tell you that I think you're better than Luke. And kissing you felt pretty good, too. As I spoke, Steve's eyes grew brighter and brighter. Then my lips were sealed by his. As if to test my words, Steve sucked the air from my lungs. I wanted to resist, but remembering what I had just said, I could only force myself to endure it. It wasn't until I felt Steve start to undress me that I shoved him away. Steve, calm down. He was caught off guard by my push, his face still flushed with desire. But in the end, he just clenched his fists tightly and didn't approach me again. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Leo, please don't hate me. It's just that every time I see you, I can't control myself. I've been keeping you here these past few days and not seeing you because I was afraid I'd lose control if I did. I suddenly remembered that morning he disappeared. He had run off early because he was afraid of losing control and hurting me. Seeing that I was quiet, Steve got nervous. I won't hurt you. Please believe me. After saying that, he picked up a pen from the table and stabbed it straight into his palm. I saw the blood flow out instantly. Are you crazy? I quickly went over and took his hand. His fair palm was covered in blood. Where's your first aid kit? We need to stop the bleeding. Steve just stared at me blankly. Only after I urged him did he point to a spot. When I got the first aid kit, I found it was full of medicine. Besides the usual essentials, there were also some pills that looked like he took them every day. I didn't think much of it and focused on stopping the bleeding. Someone who would rather hurt himself than me, while a bit extreme, didn't seem so scary anymore. What are those pills in your kit for? Steve looked at me, his expression a little embarrassed. To control my emotions. How long have you been taking them? Some of the pill bottles were empty. It was clear he'd been on them for a long time. Ever since I hurt my brother, my dad sent me to a psychiatric hospital and prescribed these. It's been about 7 years now. He said this with no particular emotion on his face. I thought about what Luke had said. Combined with his reaction now, preferring to harm himself rather than me, I felt there might be more to the story. Why did you hurt your brother? His fingers involuntarily clenched into a fist again, and the newly bandaged hand started to bleed through. Because he deserved to die. His eyes were filled with anger and hatred. I didn't know what he had gone through, but in that moment, I could deeply feel his pain. I didn't press him further and re-bandaged his hand. You went to Luke's place to find me that day because he sent you a message? Steve nodded. He was provoking me, saying you two were back together. He even sent a picture of you kissing. Exactly as I had guessed. That jerk Luke, always playing these stupid mind games. We're not together. And that wasn't a kiss. He forced it on me. Seeing Steve still staring at me, I continued to explain. You probably don't know, but Luke and I have been friends since we were kids. My family also relies on his family. I only went to see him this time because my dad made me. Steve's eyes burned as he looked at me. As long as you say it, I'll believe you. Leaving Steve's house was much simpler than I thought. After I explained everything, Steve drove me back to school. Just as we arrived, we saw Luke and his gang of friends coming out. He had his arm around a pretty freshman girl. Seeing him, Steve suddenly pulled me into his arms, intertwining our fingers to declare his ownership. Leo, so you two really did get together. Luke, I told you these gay guys are all about the 3-minute fling. They fall for whoever they see. Good thing he didn't turn you. The one who spoke was another one of Luke's good friends, someone who was always passive-aggressive with me. Now he had found the perfect opportunity to run his mouth. Even if it is a 3-minute fling, we gays wouldn't be interested in trash like you. His face changed, and he was about to say more, but Luke shot him a look. Shut up. Then he looked at me. Leo, get over here. Not really convenient, mister. Luke. I held up my hand with Steve's. The latter was looking at me with eyes sparkling like stars. If my crush on Luke was once public knowledge, then Steve's affection for me was something he couldn't hide even if he tried. I felt a little awkward and pulled Steve away. Luke, furious, yelled a threat at my back. Leo, I'll count to 3. Get back here or you'll regret it. I stopped. Steve looked at me nervously, his palms slick with sweat. Liking you is the biggest regret of my life. Other than that, I have nothing to regret. Steve was true to his word. He dropped me off at school and didn't force me to do anything else. I was starting to understand him. He seemed dangerous, obsessive, and prone to losing control. But if you handled him gently, he was actually quite obedient. Just as I got Steve settled, Luke blew up my family's phone. That day, just as I was getting out of class and planning to get dinner with Steve, my dad showed up at school. Luke was with him. When my dad saw me holding hands with Steve, his face changed completely. My sexual orientation was suddenly exposed right in front of him. I was forcibly taken home and locked up by him. Before I left, Steve held my hand tightly, his eyes filled with worry and anger. I tried my best to reassure him. It's okay. He's my dad. He won't do anything to me. But apparently, sometimes the people closest to you know best how to hurt you. When we got home, my dad screamed at me, saying I had brought shame upon the family. He even discussed sending me to a psychiatric hospital with my mom. I just like guys. I'm not sick. You're a guy who likes guys. If that's not sick, what is? What if I told you I like Luke, and Luke likes me too? Would you still think I'm sick then? My dad fell silent, seeming to process my question. After a long time, he sneered, "How could Luke possibly like guys? If he really did, he wouldn't have told me you were embarrassing me out there." My mom was crying beside me, begging me to admit I was wrong, promise to stay away from Steve, and never like guys again. If you really think I'm sick, then just send me to a psychiatric hospital. I don't care. Compared to being locked up by Steve, my parents were much harsher. First, they starved me for 3 days trying to make me give in. When they realized I was really holding out, they got scared I might actually starve to death and sent my mom in to use guilt trips. Seeing that I was unmoved, they planned to send me to a psychiatric hospital. My mom said, "Son, don't blame us for being cruel. Mom and Dad have no other choice. This will affect your dad's career. Just say the word, and Mom will go beg your dad not to send you there." I sneered, "If you're gonna send me, then just do it. I stopped having any expectations for you a long time ago." They always cared more about their jobs and careers. When I was young and skinny and got bullied at school, they did nothing. They even asked why the bullies didn't pick on anyone else, only me. Later, it was Luke who helped me and saved me from the bullying. But now, he was also the one who had put me in this situation. The night before I was supposed to be sent to the psychiatric hospital, Luke showed up at my house. He stood there with one hand in his pocket, looking down at me. "Leo, as long as you promise to break up with Steve, I guarantee your parents won't send you to the hospital. And your dad's promotion, I can help with that too." I sat on the floor without saying a word. He walked over to me and pinched my chin. "Don't you get it yet? With just one word from me, you and your family can have the life you've always wanted." I suddenly started laughing, looking up at him. "Luke, do you just assume I have to do whatever you want? The moment I start to resist, you use all these tactics to crush me, forcing me to submit to your power. Too bad for you. I'm not my dad." Luke looked at me, his fingers tightening on my chin before he finally let go. He pointed at me. "Do you really like Steve that much? A guy who messes around with his own brother. You think you've found true love? Once you're in there, let's see how many days you can last. I'll be waiting for you to come crawling back to me." A privileged rich kid like him could never understand that my rebellion wasn't for someone else, it was for myself. I had already accepted everything and was just waiting for them to send me away. The next morning, my dad actually came in, unlocked the chain on my ankle. "You've been at home for so many days, all that tuition money wasted. Go to school." I was completely baffled but didn't ask anything. As I left the room, my dad called out from behind me, "Don't hate your father. Everything I do is for you. I don't want to deal with your damn issues anymore. Just don't be too conspicuous and embarrass me." I was totally confused. I had no idea why he had a sudden change of heart and just let me go. It wasn't until I went downstairs and saw Steve. I hadn't seen Steve in half a month, and he looked much more haggard. When he saw me, he ran over and hugged me tightly. Feeling his warm embrace, the strength that had been drained from me slowly returned. "Steve, they all think I'm mentally ill. Is it sick for me to like men?" Steve let go of me, his face full of heartache as he cupped my face. "The ones who are sick are the prejudiced people. You've done nothing wrong. You haven't hurt anyone. It's the people who are hurting you because of this who are the truly sick ones." "Yeah, I haven't hurt anyone. What have I done wrong?" On the way back, I learned that Steve was the one who got me released. It turned out his father's position was even higher than Luke's. It was just that the father and son had been at odds for years, so no one knew about it. "Don't worry, you're free now." Steve reached out and took my hand. Being loved so passionately for the first time made my throat tighten. Just before this, I was still thinking that Steve was a psycho and I could never fall in love with a psycho. But in this moment, I was hopelessly captured by his love. When I got back to the dorm, my roommates all came over to ask if I was okay. I heard Luke's dad found out he was gay and got so mad he sent him abroad. I was completely bewildered. Luke is gay. You didn't know? Someone took a video of Luke sleeping with a male escort at a club and sent it to his dad. And it wasn't just once, either. I saw the video, and that guy looked a little like you. Why would he pretend to be disgusted by gay people when he likes men himself? Is there something wrong with his brain? I didn't say anything. I was even quite calm inside. It wasn't surprising that Luke would end up like this. He was naturally proud and arrogant, always putting down his own kind to feel superior. It was completely in character. By the way, I heard the person who reported him was Steve. I didn't expect him to have so much guts. He did it all to stand up for me. But on the way back, he didn't mention it at all. It was as if he had just done something he wanted to do. My feelings for him were already complicated because of my dad. But in this moment, I felt like none of that mattered anymore. I turned and went downstairs, not knowing if Steve had gone far. As soon as I got downstairs, I saw Steve still standing at the entrance, holding a bag of food in one hand and on his phone with the other. He seemed stunned when he saw me. I was just about to call you to come down and get this. I bought you some dinner. Figured you wouldn't be in the mood to go out and eat tonight. He handed it to me, his face full of concern. Something exploded in my chest, warm and spreading. I walked up to him and stared into his eyes. Steve, let's be together. No matter what kind of person he was, his kindness toward me was real. No matter if he was sick or not, when he was with me, he was more normal than a normal person. The light returned to Steve's eyes. He took my hand and kissed my lips, unafraid to show his love for me, unafraid of anyone's gaze. This is nice. To be loved so fiercely. Steve's story. When I was 15, my stepmother and her son joined my dad to form a new family. I was happy to suddenly have an older brother, thinking I had someone to look out for me. But over time, I realized my brother was always doing things that were too intimate with me. One time, when our parents were away on a trip, he climbed into my bed in the middle of the night. I wasn't old, but I understood what was happening. When I couldn't fight back, I grabbed the toy knife from under my pillow and stabbed him in the stomach. He was left impotent for life, and my relationship with my family was completely broken. I always thought that someone like me could never love or be loved in this lifetime. Until I met Leo. He expressed his love for Luke so passionately and boldly. Even though I knew Luke was a total scumbag. I don't know when it started, but I became more and more attracted to him, to the point of no return. But I knew my mind had long been broken. I tried to mimic the way he loved, but people thought I was the one who liked Luke. Every time I saw him, I wanted to possess him. My study is filled with all my dark secrets. I thought I would spend the rest of my life as a pervert, secretly watching him. Until that party, when Luke's stupidity finally gave me an opportunity. I was ecstatic. God knows how much willpower it took that night in the hotel to just kiss and hold him while he slept beside me. But I had to pretend to be asleep so he wouldn't discover my secret. When morning came, looking at the sweet, soft person in my arms, I knew if I didn't leave, I would lose control. I couldn't do anything to hurt him while his heart still belonged to someone else. I fled in a panic. But later, at Luke's house, when I heard him insulting Leo, I couldn't hold back and punched him. He came to the scene and I thought he would hate me for it. To my surprise, he said he came because of me. He told me he didn't like Luke anymore. I thought my chance had finally come and was about to confess, but he got a call and left. Later, I received a photo from Luke of them kissing. I finally lost control, brought him to my home, and locked him up. But I was afraid he would hate me, and I couldn't accept that he still liked someone else. I could only remind myself every day not to hurt him. A cool remark from Steve made Luke's face darken. Even though I wasn't sure if it was true or not, my heart was full of joy. But I never expected that someone as sunny as Leo would also have an imperfect family like me. But that's okay. As long as I'm here, I won't let anyone hurt him. I went to my dad. I threatened him to help Leo's dad get promoted, or I would expose what happened back then. Naturally, to save face, he agreed. When I saw Leo again, he had lost a lot of weight. He saw me and rushed over to hug me. In that moment, I thought, I have finally become his pillar of support. After he asked to be with me, I felt like the happiest person in the world. Perhaps it's because we are two people who have both been hurt that we cherish this hard-won relationship even more. To borrow a phrase Leo often whispers in my ear, soulmates are hard to find. Perhaps what we search for our whole lives has already been arranged by fate. You just need to wait patiently, and one day he will appear.